Good morning and welcome to Chaturday Live. I'm your host, Jason Robinson, and we're here to offer entertainment to you on this chilly Saturday morning. I hope everybody's okay. First off, Happy New Year. It's the first show back, so we're all happy to see you. Hope everybody's doing okay. Today's show is, as I would call, very relative. Our guest today is going to be speaking to us about anxiety, how we can deal with day-to-day life. We'll go through to the questions and the ins and outs of why our guest is on the show very shortly. But as always, we are a fully interactive chat show. You can comment. You can add information in the comment section. Just put the letter Q if you want to ask a question, or generally just have a general chit chat in the comment section. We will join in with that as well. We want you to all feel a part of it and enjoy it, and we are here for you. As you're well aware, Chaturday Live supports mental health awareness. For those new people that have joined the show, thank you very much. It's nice to have some more company in the new year. I'd like to clarify that myself, I am in no way, shape or form a specialist in mental health. I do not know the ins and outs to all the answers, but what I am here for is I'm a voice. You can text, you can call the show. I'm happy to speak, or we have connections for people. If you feel like you need extra help, we can forward that on to you. So we're a kind of like an in-between medium. We offer the entertainment, but we can obviously forward it on to the support if you feel like you need it. Other than that, just tune in, stick around for the entertainment. Get involved. As I've said before, it's purely for entertainment purposes and it's interactive. All your comments and everything do make all the difference. So we'll jump straight into the show. Today's show, I'm going to be joined by the fantastic Caroline Pett, who is an anti-anxiety specialist and life coach and an all-round fantastic person. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Caroline over the internet for the last probably about 6 weeks, actually, just trying to get this show ready up and going. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. So without further ado, if that's okay, I would like to introduce our next guest. Good morning, Caroline Pett.
Morning.
How are we?
Yes, I'm good. A little bit nervous, actually, but luckily I know how to deal with that. So, yeah, good. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you very much. If anybody's obviously on my personal Facebook page and Instagram, you will know, and Caroline, you live in the same area as me. -8 last night. That's a new one. Having to double up on the socks today. So
yeah, definitely a bit chilly.
The show goes live and it's on the internet, and there's people all over the country and possibly the world that tune in. So we are based in Cumbria. Caroline's based in Cumbria. We have people from Suffolk, Norfolk, and all over the United Kingdom tune in as well. So where we currently are, it is now, if I look at my phone, which is always right, of course, we are sitting at -6 on this lovely Saturday morning, and it's snow outside, which is very picturesque. But enough about where we are. Caroline, if you'd like to do a brief description of who you are and what you're all about, and we'll dive straight into it.
Yeah, so I'm Caroline. I live just outside Carlisle in Little Corby, just moved there in August, and it's lovely. But I have lived in Cumbria most of my life. And it's just a wonderful place to live, actually. So, Jason, welcome. When you're allowed outside, you're going to love it. I went full-time doing this just in September. So I left my employment in September. But I've been doing coaching, hypnosis, helping people with anxiety for the last couple of years on a part-time basis. And I just really love it. So it all started for me because I was traveling around the country doing sales training in my job. And I was teaching people how to communicate and how to ask the right questions and how to do things like that. And actually, a lot of that turned into helping them get over the blocks that were stopping them from doing it. And that was the bit that I really liked. So rather than helping people sell mobile phones, that's what I did. I thought, how can I help people get the most of their skills in their actual lives? And that's where I split and started doing personal coaching and then hypnosis. and a couple of other modalities as well.
So again, welcome. So the idea of, I guess the phrase anxiety itself is a big word. It's very broad. So if you don't mind, so what is anxiety? Is, I guess, the big question.
Yeah, so anxiety on its own is a perfectly natural reaction to events that happen in your life. And actually, you need a bit of anxiety, because anxiety I think is the culmination of feelings that you get when your nervous system triggers the fight-flight mode. So that's the mode that you need in order to get away from danger or to combat danger. We tend not to see it like that as much now. We relate it to unhelpful anxiety. Unhelpful anxiety is when that fight-flight mode triggers unnecessarily, or more than it needs to, and it becomes chronic. And then you get all of those feelings that are associated with that. It can lead to all sorts of things if that fight-flight mode remains triggered over time.
So I guess the expression is when you say like somebody's always on edge, is that probably the same sort of thing? It's somebody's always constantly worried, or,
Yeah.
So that comes under anxiety as well.
Yeah, and it comes out in people in lots of different ways. So your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, which is what rules things like your breathing and your digestion and things like that, the things you don't have to think about, they're automatic, is what triggers the fight-flight mode. So you don't think about it consciously, it's automatic. But your mind doesn't necessarily know what's a real situation and what's a situation that you've made up in your mind.
Okay.
So we're constantly triggering this fight-flight mode on ourselves with the stories that we tell ourselves. And also when we watch the news, when we scroll through Facebook and we see everything that's happening in the world, our mind doesn't necessarily know that we're not in immediate danger, and we have to step back and remind ourselves of that. But in terms of how it affects people, it's all sorts of different ways. So if you're in fight-flight mode, you're ready to run or you're ready to fight. So the blood moves away from your internal organs into your arms and legs to get you prepared to do that. That means that things like digestion can go a bit funny. So people get things like IBS, or they just get bad tummies, or they can't digest food properly, so they lose weight or they gain weight. It can go either way. It can be things like you don't need good blood supply to your skin particularly. So skin conditions, rashes, hair loss. Over time, all of these things can happen, and it's worrying to people when these things happen, because you don't necessarily know what the cause of it is.
Yeah, I think, again, thanks very much for everybody that's watching. Again, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We will ask Caroline throughout the show. And if you want to stay anonymous with your question but feel like you need it to be answered, you can message the show directly via the Facebook inbox, and we can always read the comment out live on the show with complete anonymity, if that's the word. Oh, that's like from, what is that? Is that like Finding Nemo, isn't it? Anonymity. Oh, that's the wrong one. Just as difficult. So if we narrow it down, so what's the most common health issue or issue that you're finding then from clients that are coming to you? Is there like a generic, yes, there are hundreds, possibly thousands of different reasons for somebody feeling anxious, but is there like a small ball at this current moment in time where you're finding the need for people to come and speak to you about?
Yeah, there are loads of different reasons, but a common theme at the moment seems to be people having trouble sleeping.
Right.
And it's really not a surprise with the situation that we're in. And I do explore this. I'm just going to plug my workshop here. I do explore this in my my sleep workshop. And the workshop's just called Sleep! ! And I think the reason that we're struggling with that is not just because anxiety is high, but because we've been thrown out of our normal routine as well. We've been asked to stay inside. We're not doing as much exercise as we normally would. And it throws out your circadian rhythm, and it makes it difficult to sleep. And then, of course, if you have difficulty sleeping, you then find that you don't have the energy to deal with day-to-day life. So things get on top of you a bit more. And because things are on top of you a bit more, you have trouble sleeping. And then it's just a cycle that goes down and down. But you can also switch the cycle so that it goes up and up. So if you can sleep a little bit better, then you can cope with your day a little bit better, which means you'll sleep a little bit better. So the cycle does go both ways.
Do you have any, I wouldn't say easy techniques, but like they say, simple day-to-day techniques for anxiety that could maybe calm a situation or a person, just something simple that you could explain or show us that we could do, Yeah,
so some really good ones that I was doing just before we started and when you were doing the introduction. And you won't even have noticed that I was doing them because you can't tell. So you can do these anywhere. So there's a really good one where you can just tap gently on the side of your palm. So, if you were going to do a karate chop.
Yes.
Where that would connect. And you just tap really gently.
Okay.
And if you just tap gently there, that will calm you down.
All right.
Another thing that you can do is you hold your middle finger, well, it's meant to just be your middle finger or your first and middle finger quite tightly.
Okay.
And that also sends signal to your kidneys, and the kidneys are part of your adrenal system. And that stops the release of things like adrenaline and stuff. So that can help as well.
Okay.
I know it sounds a bit wacky, but it really does help. Other things that you can do, often when you're feeling anxious because your thoughts have gone a bit mad. So you're imagining all sorts of scenarios that aren't really happening.
Yeah.
So what I like to do when that happens to me is I've got a couple of different ways. I either go through the colours of the rainbow and name something that I can see that's that colour.
Okay.
So actually look around the environment that you're in. Pay attention to the room that you're in and find something of that colour. Or if I'm in a bit of a bland room, or if I know I won't find every colour, I just pick a colour and name everything that I can see that's that colour. And that just brings your thoughts back to actually being in the room, rather than escalating and going, oh my God, they're 10 minutes late. They're probably not coming. They're either dead in a ditch or they've left me, or I'm never going to see them again. Actually, probably they're just stopped at traffic lights. So just calm down. And the other thing that you can do is control your breathing. So I'll have you do this little exercise with me to show you how that works. And if you've got any breathing problems or any struggle with breathing, I don't want you to do this.
Okay.
But Jason, you haven't got any breathing problems, have you?
No, not as far as I'm aware.
Good. So what we're going to do is think of how you sit and how you hold yourself when you're feeling anxious. So you probably get a bit small, you get a bit scrunched up. Yeah, arms get a bit tight across your chest. And then you breathe in. I just want you to breathe short, shallow breaths that go down to like the top of your lungs, that hardly get into your lungs at all.
Yeah.
And you'll feel yourself starting to get a bit stressed, even though before you were fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I want you to do instead is to sit up straight. And I want you to breathe in for the count of 4. So that count of 4 can be however long a count of 4 is comfortable for you. then hold that breath for the count of 4.
Okay.
Then breathe out for the count of 4 and hold the out breath for the count of 4. And this is called box breathing. So breathe in through the nose for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4 before you breathe in again.
Oh, I feel like I can go and have a nap. I feel nice and calm.
Yeah.
You know what? Again, I think the simplest things are always the best things, aren't they? It's a case that, I get on that. So my living style probably is comparable with other people's. Tea, coffee, unhealthy food, chocolate, stuff like that. All stuff that has certain chemicals and stuff inside it. I'm guessing that probably drinking copious amount of coffee on a daily basis is probably not a good thing either.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you've got to be aware of the caffeine and stuff. So if it keeps you awake at night or stops you getting a good quality sleep at night, I would say bring it earlier. Switch to decaf in the afternoon or the evening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to dictate to you what time or how much. It depends what works for you. But if you're drinking, don't drink espresso at 11 o'clock and expect to sleep well.
I think we've had last year on the show, we had Ben Hale. He was a personal trainer who was on, and he advised me that, if you want to feel energized, feel healthy without genuinely doing any exercise whatsoever, just the basics would be, to make sure that you're getting your daily allowance of water in, which is obviously a health conscious thing. But he said, having good hydration as well lifts you as well and just keeps you in. So, along with being anxious, maybe don't sit there generally in your house, like curling up over the 20 cups of coffee, sitting there thinking, biting your nails. Maybe a glass of water and a walk around your house is probably a better idea. But hey, what do I know?
That is a really good idea.
Yeah, I think
if you're sat in front of the telly, crouched over, and you feel anxious,
yes,
change what you're doing. So if you're sat crouched, sat slumped, sit up straight, get up, stand up straight, put some music on and dance around, because you can either change how you're feeling, which can be really difficult, or you can change what your body is doing, which will also help you change how you're feeling. So you can change either one of them first. Naturally, if you stopped feeling anxious and you started feeling joyful, you would stop slouching around and you would get up and you would probably do something. You would move around, you'd be excited, you'd sit up straight.
Yes.
But if you can't find the feeling to do that, just fake the feeling and do the action and the feeling will follow. Okay.
So if you don't feel like in a good mood, that you want to get up and dance around your front room to Spice Girls, put it on, dance around anyway, and eventually you'll probably just feel like you're in a good mood for doing it anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Other girl bands are available, just obviously Spice Girls is my choice.
Other girl bands are available.
So when, again, my naivety, this is not my speciality, this is yours. When I think of anybody suffering with anxiety or needing some sort of help with day-to-day life, I personally think of middle-aged people, with stressful jobs, always on the go as anxiety. I mean, who does anxiety affect the most? Or is there like a generic circle, or is it's so wide that it could happen to genuinely anybody at any time?
Yeah, it really could happen to anybody at any time. So anybody who doesn't have or doesn't implement the coping mechanisms that work for them can be susceptible to anxiety. And, at times we're all going to feel like that. We can't sail through, unfortunately, life unscathed. Things are going to happen and you're going to need help at some point. But yes, really anybody. So you get school kids, it seems to happen younger and younger. So when kids go to school, that suddenly they're away from what they've known. They're away from just being with their parents and their family, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. They soon settle in and adapt, of course, but that can be stressful. And then when you move from one school to another school, there's all these new people to learn and get to know, and new ways round, and that can cause anxiety. And all of that's completely natural. You know, when you put yourself in a new situation, or you're put into a new situation, you do have to heighten your awareness. And people now seem to think that that is anxiety, and they feel like there's something wrong with them for that. But if you're in a situation you've not been in before, you should be wary, and you should be aware of what's going on around you. And you're probably not going to be entirely comfortable with it to begin with, because you're on the lookout for danger to keep yourself around, and that's completely normal. But yeah, so school kids, university students, again, there's all sorts of changes. Basically, anyone it can happen at any time to anyone if you're struggling to cope with things, but it often triggers when there's a big change in your life. Whatever that change is.
Yeah, I guess
that can trigger it.
Yeah, I think, as you've clearly said there, you know, if we all look back to past events where we've probably been anxious and not being aware of our surroundings, that what it's actually doing to ourselves, you know, like you say, going from when I was a little bit younger, it used to be middle school to high school, which is now first to secondary school. So yeah, you're going from one building to what may seem like a massive building, you know, to accumulate. Yeah. It's a big area for kids. Same if you're deciding to change careers, you know, you're probably anxious about that. You know, you're going from one new career to a different one. You know, there's all sorts of things like that. So like you said, calming techniques that you could probably do on arrival at these places, you know, quite simply, you know, just to calm yourselves down. But again, I'm not the specialist, you are, but if anybody is out there suffering or has any more questions about it, regardless during this show or afterwards, make sure you do head over to Caroline's Facebook page. She's there 24/7 as well, other than when she's sleeping. You know, she's happy to answer all questions and give advice. So please do take full advantage of that. So we've just now come off the back of Christmas and New Year, and any other year, backdated 10 years ago, we would have probably been surrounded by 40 people in a pub or 12 to 15 people in a house, all having, you know, beverages, party food, music's playing. We're all enjoying ourselves. We like being there next to each other. You know, this year we haven't managed to do that unless you're celebrities and you don't really care. But other than that, you know, we've now been stuck in our homes. And again, if you're, you know, a part of a bubble, maybe if you're living independently, you've managed to go somewhere else. But there's probably been a maximum of, you know, 5 to 6 people in one household at any one time, and you've not seen your friends. The aftermath of that, obviously, is that we've probably now spent a lot of money trying to make the perfect Christmas for a small amount of people, because we're trying to maybe compensate for what we're losing with the amount of people and friends that we're going to have around. Now, speaking from what I've seen on social media myself, now is the time where, you know, the dreaded credit card bill comes through the post. You know, you look at your bank balance and you go, all that money you saved up for Christmas and New Year has disappeared because you've done what you may think is the right thing and bought your kids the presents that they wanted, or you've spent money on gifts or food. I know a lot of people out there bought turkeys at the beginning of, you know, October, presuming that they could have 3 other families turning up to Christmas, and now only feeding 3 people with a massive turkey. You know, you've overdone it, which is an anxious thing as well. So the aftermath of Christmas, and maybe like financially, is there any advice you could say to people that have got that on their mind, you know, that can help?
Yeah, so I can't give you any financial advice, of course. However, what I would say is, whenever you feel like there's a monster on your shoulder, turning around and looking at it, you always realize it's not as bad as you think. And even if it is as bad as you think, then dealing, you know, ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. So put on your big girl pants, your big boy pants, and look at it and come up with a plan and deal with it. And if you need financial support or financial help, go and find it. Don't try and deal with it on your own and wish it'll go away, because it won't. And you'll lie awake at night, or you'll wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about that bloody credit card bill. So I would just say, don't bury your head in the sand on that one, or with anything else, really. If there's something that keeps running around your head, turn around and face it. And that can be really scary to do, but it won't go away until you have. So
thank you. We try not to focus on the external news and what's going on in the world on this show, because we try and keep it lighthearted. But with you being on the show, new year, new me and stuff like that, we're finding, again, I see it on social media all the time. We'll get to the whole social media yes and no's in a minute, but we'll talk about it for now. I'm guessing anxiety is on the rise, because you've got people that are watching the news, they're seeing bad things, they're seeing what's going on in other countries, what's going on in the areas that they live in, the rises in cases of COVID-19. Do I go out and get fresh air? If I go out, am I now limited, maximizing my chances of coming away with COVID? Do I stay in? Do I get home delivery? What should I be doing? Do I actually risk it, go down the park? There might be somebody down there that I see. Can I do this? Can I do that? That's an anxious feeling as well, of not knowing. We don't like to mock anybody, but our government has made it very, very difficult sometimes to know what's right and wrong with tiers. We can see who we can't see. I'll make an example that I saw on social media, which a lot of people probably did. There was 2 girls, I think, from Cumbria that drove in separate cars 5 miles down the road to, I don't know if you knew the story. So they drove 5 miles down the road in separate cars. They went and got coffee separately, drove 5 miles down the road separately to an open park separately, started their walk separately, and then have now been slapped with a £200 fine each, because having a cup of coffee and meeting somebody is classed as a picnic, which is currently illegal. I've seen the person that was doing it, and they've probably done a lot worse other than this scenario. So I'm not going to say that they're like completely innocent in the situation. But the statement that they gave was, I thought what I was doing was the safest thing to do. And that is true. I could get in my car now, battle through the blizzard out there, go pick up Caroline, go to Costa, go and get a coffee, and go sit next to each other on a park bench. Now, that's highly illegal, and that's just making it worse for everybody. But if you live on your own, you're allowed to meet another household. Supposedly, I would love to put up the do's and don'ts on this Facebook page, but they would be out of date within an hour.
Yeah, they would.
We can't tell you what you can do. But back to the point of anxiety, you can't do right from doing wrong. So there's probably a lot of people pacing around right now. Is there any advice that you could say to people? Again, we are in a pandemic, so there is pandemic meaning panic of some shape or form. You might be somebody that goes, my granddad or something lives 40 miles away, independent. I shouldn't go there, but I'm worried. What can I do? I mean, other than going out and doing that, is there any kind of, like you say, advice that you could say to people that are constantly worrying about the outside world rather than their inside?
The thing to do is you can only control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do what you think's best. So if your granddad lives 40 miles away and it is sensible and safe for you to do so, I'm sure he would love the connection. Loneliness and disconnection is really dangerous as well.
Mm.
Is there a safer way that you can connect with him? Well, maybe there is. If you could get him on Zoom, or you could get him on Facebook Messenger and chat to him,
mm-hmm.
then yes, but that is better and it will help, but it's not the same as going to see someone.
Mm.
I think you have to balance the risk for yourself, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
we
have to reiterate that we don't encourage anybody to break any rules or anything like that. Or what we're trying to say, but you've got to make your own independent choices to what you feel is okay. Maybe going and meeting 4 of your mates from Facebook in a park for a cup of coffee is not sensible. But if somebody's independently living on their own and doesn't maybe have full connection to the internet and only has a telephone line, I guess we all feel that way, that we'd always want to help somebody in need. Well, I'm hoping that everybody watches this show that would like to say we'd like to help somebody in need. But weigh up your options wisely and, use these drastic measures as last measures, and try and do things safely. And in regards to pandemic and panic and whatnot, like you just said there, you can only control what you can control. So don't worry about what's going on outside your house. Make sure that you're looking after yourself. And I think that leads perfectly over to something that we discussed, which is social media. Now, there's an irony in this, which we've discussed first. This show is based on social media. You gain a lot of work through social media.
Yeah.
One of the key reasons for anxiety in the modern 21st century age is
social media. Yeah.
So what's the do's and don'ts of social media from your side of things?
From my side of things, and do you know what? I'm not always the best at sticking to my own advice on this one. Social media does have a habit of drawing us in. My advice is try and take at least some time away from social media. So have at least one day a week where you really don't go on there at all. And when you can, limit your social media to certain times during the day. So, say, for example, rather than at every ad break on the TV or any time your attention drifts, picking up your phone and scrolling through Facebook, which I can be really bad for, put the phone the other side of the room, leave it in your bedroom and have a bit of time away from it. And just remember that not everything on social media is true. And people post their highlights generally. So when you look at social media, you have to remember that people are only posting either the very, very good things, the exciting things, or the really terrible things.
Yeah.
And they're not posting the mediocre throughout the day. So you can forget that everybody else is also living a bit of a dull existence at the moment, potentially. They're getting up, they're having a cup of tea, and that's not all on social media. So just take it all with a pinch of salt. It should be entertainment. So try and see it that way.
I think what you can do on things like Facebook as well is if you've got media outlets like the news, you follow people that are constantly updating you with berating life stories and that. Go on their Facebook page, notifications, and turn off notifications for that specific. Don't unfollow them, if you want to stay followed. But if you know that triggers some sort of anxiety, hypothetically, you have BBC News putting feeds up all the time, something's going on in a different country or this is happening in a certain part of where you live. If that was probably a good idea as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I would recommend turning off notifications on all of your social media.
Except this one.
Obviously.
Yes.
Live. Go on and check it in your own terms, not when your phone pings at you.
Yes.
Turn off your notifications.
We'll go on to happier things. If you are watching currently now, hello. And if you're new to the show, hello. Thank you very much for joining. And if you've joined us for the show on Caroline's behalf, hello and welcome.
Hello.
Feel free to put a hello or a comment in the comment section. We will read it out. We will say hello. We've had Clark Reynolds, one of our guests from last year, the blind braille artist. Hello, Clark, if you're still watching. We will be in contact with you again. I've got a fantastic idea with you in mind, so do stick around. Everybody else, hello. We're going to lighten it now. I'm going to ask a question. Sometimes our guests reply on social media. Sometimes they don't. Taking away the phone and looking at what everybody else is doing, let's talk about things that we can do to take our minds off it. Netflix, like movies and stuff like that. Can you what series are you currently watching at the moment, Caroline? And before that, if you're watching something, then tell us what you're watching on Netflix or social media, on the TV. Tell us what you're watching or listening to, a podcast. Share it in the comments. Let other people know what's going on. Let's stay connected. I personally have I binge watch like stuff to do with cars. So I watch this program called Fast and Loud. They build cars, and I binge watch that. It's simple, and I love it. What are you watching, Caroline?
Well, I have seen it all now nearly 3 times. I'm watching Grey's Anatomy again, which, do you know what? It's one of those programs for me that it's just it's weird because it's medical stuff and some of it's disgusting, but it's just comforting because I know what's going to happen. So when you've got those movies and those TV shows that you watch again and again, because they keep you entertained, but it's safe because you know what's going to happen. So that's one of those for me. I've watched The Crown. That was fantastic.
Yeah, again, that's not something I'm into. The wife would watch something like that. Again, we have 2 split personalities. She'll watch. What did she watch? I walked in once and it was really gruesome. Is it The Handmaid's Tale?
Handmaid's Tale. That is.
I think I walked in and somebody at that specific mind was cutting their ear off, and then I walked out of the room because that was disgusting. So, but the wife likes that, so that's her cup of tea.
Yeah. So The Crown is fantastic. Queen's Gambit was really, really good. I watched that in a couple of afternoons. That's the chess one.
Okay.
What else have I been watching? I quite like the quiz shows. We do a lot of the quiz shows in the afternoons.
Yeah.
So like the Chase and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Bit of a quiz master these days.
Hmm.
Not that I ever win. So me and my partner did the live pub quiz when it started back in the start of the year. We did the live pub quiz on YouTube. I think I won once.
I did that as well. I did that through lockdown, the first lockdown. God, what are we in? Lockdown 19 now? I can't remember now. The first lockdown, I think a lot of people adapted really well to a quick situation. They got on social media, they got Zoom, they got Skype, if that's still around, I'm not sure. They started doing these quizzes, like pubs and stuff that were closed deliberately went, look, we are closed, but we're here for you. So pubs still did pub quizzes, but they did it online. Fantastic. I was like, wow. And I think that over the year and now going into the new year, we've kind of gone on a bit of a lull. So I do recommend people start your quizzes, your family quizzes over Zoom or Facebook Messenger or whatever. Becky, Parks and Recreation. I started that. I need to complete that. Again, it's finding time in the day. The worst part is having too many options, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well. You go on there. You go on your Sky TV or your Netflix or anything like that, and you scroll and you go all these series recommendations of it. And then the worst thing is, I don't have enough time in the day, but I do.
Yeah. Becky's my sister, and every time I see her, she says, you must watch Parks and Recreation. And sorry, I haven't yet.
So that's old now, isn't it? That's done because that's got Chris Pratt in it. So that's old, I think. Well, I think it is, unless they're still going. Good morning, Laura.
You keep telling me to watch it. Is it Schitt's Creek? Is that the other one people keep telling me to watch?
Is that the right pronunciation?
Might not be. SCHITT. I think it is. Apologies if not.
Laura, if you're watching, tell us what you're watching on TV, Laura. You're a big fan. We loved having you. Laura was one of our guests at the beginning of the show. Who works for the NHS. She's a fantastic guest, and she gave us all the information on COVID at the beginning. So it's always nice to hear from her. I think that's a good thing to do. Maybe don't watch news on the TV. Don't watch live TV. Maybe watch something. I tell you what's freaked me out, if we're on this conversation now, because we're going lighthearted, is now I watch TV programs and I'm calling out people going, you're not socially distanced or wearing a mask. Bearing in mind, I'm watching something from 2003.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, why is he doing that, why is Noel Edmonds opening the boxes and like standing next to anybody? What's going on here? But they're old, but the new way of life. But yeah, make sure you get into something exciting. With, like you say, who should people who feel that they're suffering with anxiety or whatnot, who should they be going to?
So the first thing is, if you feel like if you're feeling a bit anxious, talk to anyone about anything. So you don't necessarily, phone up your mum and have a conversation with her. Phone up your best friend and have a chat. And you don't have to necessarily start the conversation with, I'm feeling really anxious and, this is how I feel. You can just have a conversation. And if you're, and that will help. That connection with somebody else will help. If it's a bit more extreme than that, then there's lots of professionals online. You can give me a call, or you can go and talk to your GP, who will point you in the direction of services as well. The GPs tend to point you in the direction of talking services, which are great and do work for a lot of people. But yes, just talk to someone, anyone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling anxious, the best thing you can do is not bottle it up and deal with it on your own. But yeah, just talk to someone. Laura's just said that the Mind charity is great, and you support Mind as well.
So, Laura, your face comes up and everything. This is the first time we've put this up here. Mind charities are great, and Samaritans have a 24/7 helpline if you have no one or don't want to burden your loved ones. What a great statement there, Laura. It is exactly that. There are people out there. There are people that are happy to help. There are lines. As you see it on our social media, we've put the Samaritans, you've got the Mind charity, you've got... there's loads of, like you say, you've got mental health awareness in itself. You can Google all this sort of things. I mean, this show is here. You're more than welcome to message this show. If you just want a general chit chat, you want to talk about sports, football, movies, TV shows, want to talk about kids. Now I've got a child, I can give some sort of like yes or no about what I'm doing. Music, I will not burden anybody on this show by playing that, but I can talk about music as well. So if you just want to chat, stick it in the comments. Just say, hi, does anybody like this? And we'll start a chat. It's as simple as that. And then if it's more serious, please go over to Caroline, have a speak about anxiety. If it's to do with mental health, again, come to me. I will then forward you on to Caroline, and Caroline can then forward you on to somebody that's probably more qualified than me, especially. We are a network on social media, but we still need to be together. So again, make sure you do call your friends. If anybody, I do apologise, has received a video call or an invitation to anything from me in the last year, it's only because I care. I just want to check in and make sure you're all right. So feel free to call me at any time as well. So what's going on with Caroline then? What's happening on the 14th of January then?
So
that's all right, I'll plug it.
Nicely lined up, thanks, Jane. So on the 14th of January, so that's next Thursday at 7:00, I've got my online workshop, Self-Defense Against Anxiety. We look in more detail about some of the things we've discussed this morning, about what anxiety is, how it affects people, just shines a bit of a light on it, and also gives you some of the tips that I've shared today, but some more tips as well on ways that you can really just get to grips with anxiety really, really quickly. So you can go on my website and buy tickets to it there. You can also have a look at, I've got a free condensed version of the course online as well. And if you just pop your email address into the website, I'll send you the course straight away. And you can have a little look at the condensed version, which has got some really good info in it as well.
Oh, brilliant. So again, we've shared the link to your Facebook page on our Facebook page, but we will get the official links and put it in a comment later on saying thank you and everything, and then people can go and see you. Please do. Make sure you do check out people's Facebook pages, social media. That's what we're there for. in regards to, for the rest of this so-called pandemic, again, don't feel afraid to speak to people. And if you are feeling anxious in any way, shape or form, use the tips, whatever they may be. Caroline will give you more of those in depth, and she's happy to do one-to-ones, talk to people, don't be afraid. We're always here. I started this thing last year. I'm going to put you on the spot now, where I asked my guests, to recommend an album, song, or person that they've been listening to. Do you have any music that you've listened to recently that's really got you in an uplifting mood, or just generally got you through the day?
I've kind of reverted back in music, to be honest. So I've gone back to my musical prime, which was never overly prime to begin with, but so things like Reverend and the Makers, Elbow, Blink-182. I'm kind of showing my age now. Sum 41, Foo Fighters, things like that. I've kind of gone back to their prime.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of Queen, the classics.
Yes. Well, that's not narrowing it down to one. You've just spat out a whole different genre. You've gone from indie to punk to rock to classic. I think the idea is that, go up to your smart speaker and just say, play music. And then you'll get Caroline's playlist.
Play music from the late 90s, early noughties.
Thank you very much, Darren, who's kindly shared the information on their Facebook page as well, who are also very much in support of keeping people together. So hopefully Darren runs that. So if you are watching, Darren, I'd love to have you on the show at some point individually as well. That'd be fantastic, just to talk about what you guys are doing in Suffolk and surrounding areas. So if going on that, Caroline, thank you ever so much for joining us on the show today. It's been a pleasure and a privilege being our first official guest of 2021 with some really informative stuff. So thank you very much. And if you're happy, I always ask, in the future, would you like to come back and in happier times? We'll hopefully do it. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. So I'm going to love you and leave you. So everybody say thank you, Caroline Pett. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So once again, thanks very much for everybody joining the show. We are now into 2021. The show is kicking off. We've got fantastic guest lineup. After sharing this page on a few other social media pages, we've had nothing but fantastic comments and people interested. If you have anything that you'd like to share with us on the show, whether it be music related, small business related, anything to do with mental health or anything to do with medical health at all that you'd like to share, please do get in touch. We're happy to interview everybody and anybody. That's what we're here for. We're here to entertain you. While I've got you here, I had somebody ask that we would go through the basics at the end of our show. So sport, we do want to talk about sport. We're not a sports show, of course. But yes, today we've got the FA Cup. So if your team is in the FA Cup, they're all starting from 12 o'clock today. There's other sports. There's a lot of postponements due to COVID-19. So please do check in on your team. If you do like sports and you're into sports, I would love to speak to somebody actually about sports. We'd like to have a segment because that's something that we've missed on the show. Whether you play sports or really into it, regardless what it may be, that could be hockey, it could be netball, it could be basketball, football, rugby, anything, male or female, I don't care. We'll talk about sports. Yes, Darren, please do get in touch. We will definitely have that conversation. Thanks very much again, everybody, for watching today. My name has been Jason Robinson, the host of Chaturday Live. If you don't already like the page, please do. If you feel like you want to share it and that our conversations and the people that we interview may be of interest to people you know, share the page. The further it goes, the better it is for us, the better it is for you. We do have bigger and better guests coming up. We've got celebrities coming on the show, so that's worth sticking around and liking the show for that. Can't tell you too much about it yet, but it's hush-hush. But the contracts and the payments and the agreement, i.e. no contracts, no payment, I'm just begging them to come on the show. If you know anybody that's a celebrity or claim to fame or was ever on an advert, maybe promoting like an energy drink or whatever back in the early 60s, we'll have anybody on. We don't mind. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you all again next Saturday. Have a fantastic day. And remember, look after yourselves. And we'll see you all again.